Hey guys, so one of members of Positive Painters community asked the question, how can I combine two images into one to create a nice painting? And this is something that happens quite a bit in pet portraits because you can hardly ever get two or more dogs looking in the same direction, and then if you have dogs and cats you can just kind of like forget about it. So that's where Photoshop comes in handy. And so what I'm going to walk you through is how I took these two images. So we've got a large boxer, the daddy, and then the little baby, and how I got them together to look something like this. So I'm going to walk you through this. Alright, so I've got both the files pulled up. I'm going to start with the dad boxer. Now, as a tip, one of the things I really recommend that you try and do is when you have this scenario, ask the client, do you have a picture of them together? They don't have to be looking in the same direction. They don't have to be even looking at you, but what I'm using this for is a size differential so that I can measure, for example, his head versus the other dog's head. Now, if they can't, that's when a little bit of internet research kind of helps, and you find, hopefully, a picture of that breed where it's like the father and son together, and you can kind of get a general idea. Worst case scenario, like this one, is where I don't have a size differential reference, and I can't find an image on the internet that shows a father and son boxer portrait together. So I'm gonna have to guess it. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do when I pull it up, it's going to show over my layers as a background, and it's gonna be locked. I'm gonna right click that and click duplicate layer. You can name it whatever you want to name it, but this is my working copy. Okay, so now I've got my working copy, and I'm going to hide the other one. The reason why I do that is so that if I screw up like big time, I can always go back to the original. Otherwise, Control-Z, undo, is a very powerful tool in itself. So, okay, so I've already created that one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the background. Okay, so how I'm going to do that is kind of a couple point step here. So I'm going to hit W. W selects this smart object tool, and so what I'm going to do is highlight the overall boxer right there. Okay, and see how it automatically selects him? And I'm going to check that and just kind of make sure that his whole body is included. If it includes a little bit of grass and stuff, I'm fine with that, because I'm going to paint this. I'm not going to, use this image anyway other than as a reference and to paint. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to create a new layer. So I did Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste, and now there's a new layer over here where it has a transparent background, and I can see it like that. So boom, there he is. I'm going to do the same thing for the small dog. So small dog, I'm going to do a right click, duplicate layer, working copy. Okay. I'm going to hit the W for my smart object selection tool. And for him, I'm going to copy, Control-C, and I'm going to bring him right into here, Control-V. So there he is. Now I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to move him around. So he's like a little bit big right now, right? So I'm going to do Control-T for transform, and I'm going to make him a little bit smaller. That's probably too small. Just kind of guessing here. Now notice how he's in front of my boxer, Big Daddy there, and I kind of have the idea that I want him to be looking up at him, right? So it's a little bit of a story. He's not looking up at me, the photographer, he's looking up at his dad. So in order to do that, I'm going to hit enter, so the transformation has taken place. Then you'll notice over here, I've got my layers. So if I move my layer 2, which is the small dog, below layer 1, which is the big dog, notice how he's sitting behind him now. So now, see how I make him disappear? He's on a layer behind him. So now I can kind of play with that a little bit. And I like how, he does look like he's looking up at him. So that's kind of neat. Now, a personal preference of mine is not to show all the, the dog's goods. So I like to do, I'm going to select on the big dog, and I'm going to do Control T for transform, and I'm going to make him bigger. Whoop. And I'm going to kind of move him off the page because I'm also thinking about the layout of the painting, right? We want to make it interesting, and triangles are pretty interesting. So if I make him like that, and then I move this little guy maybe down here, slight behind, he's like contemplating fatherhood, and he's like, hey dad, I want to play. That's what's going on in my head. So so that's kind of how I get into this. And I might want to make him a little bit bigger. Control T. Because again, I don't have a size reference. But I think that's probably about right, considering that he's in the background. And that looks pretty good. And I mean, one of the neat things about getting from this is the size between the father and the son and how he's kind of looking up to him. So I think that's probably a good thing to start, and they're both in shot. I can see that if I look at rules of thirds, his face is on one of the lines, and maybe I should bring him down just a little bit. Yeah, right there. And that way his nose is in one of those thirds, and what's happening is my eye will go straight to him first, and then it's going to come back down and around, and then probably back up. And I can control that with how I add my lighting in my actual painting. Yeah, I think that's a winner right there. So I'm going to hit Control S for saving this. I'm save on my computer. And this is big dog and little dog together. Okay, save it. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. So once you save it, you now have a good solid reference photo to work from that is proportionally correct, shows the animals that you're looking to have into one single portrait. And the beauty of this is also with that you can relay through visual aspect to your client what you're thinking and putting the two animals together before you ever spend any time actually drawing out the portrait, thereby saving you a lot of time and energy later on by doing rework that your client might ask. All right, so until next time, you guys stay safe, happy, and healthy, and feel free to pop in any more questions in the Positive Painter community. I'll be happy to put together a video similar to this to help answer your question. Thanks, guys. See you next time.